We have every intention, every single day, to do everything in our power. We have decided to win, and that's what we will do.
6 months after Nancy Pelosi made that promise, Democrats are doing something many voters have been begging for quite a while. They are fighting like Republicans. Take the recent GOP criticism of the Biden administration's student debt relief. Republican lawmakers were all over social media complaining the relief was for elites. It was reckless. It was unfair. Well, now, for fact's sake, loan forgiveness is not nearly as uncommon as they would have you think. The government does it all the time. It is called a tax break. We see it for corporations. The government does not make them pay as much as they owe, which gives them more money to grow and thrive. And that is exactly what student loan cancellation is meant to accomplish, helping Americans have more money so they can succeed. And now, the newly feisty White House Twitter account is trying to drive home that point by publicly naming and shaming Republican members of Congress who took PPP loans. And the truth is, all along with some significant wins, that may finally be helping push President Biden's approval rating higher and possibly crushing GOP dreams of a red wave come November. Here to break it all down, Sam Stein, a veteran journalist and White House editor for Politico, and A.B. Stoddard, veteran Washington journalist and associate editor and columnist for Real Clear Politics. Sam, here's something I just need to know. If you're a member of Congress, it is a full-time job. We're talking for days about PPP loans. This was the forgivable loan program that the government put in place to keep small businesses across the country afloat. Why on earth do so many members of Congress, whose job it is to govern, also run small businesses that got hundreds of thousands, in some case millions of dollars from the government?
It's a really good question. Being a member of Congress is a full-time job, or it should be, I would say. Comes with a pretty nice salary, too. But members do have holdings and businesses, sometimes tied to family members or that have been in their family for a while, that they do operate on the side. And yes, some of them did get loans from the government. Some of them do business that involves government subsidies. Oftentimes, this is the nexus of some element of corruption in our political system. In this case, it's becoming the nexus of an element of hypocrisy in our political system. As you noted, a number of these members who have been hypercritical of this student debt relief that the Biden administration has put forward did, in fact, receive government loans through PPP. Now, of course, there's fundamental differences in the program. One was there to help with pandemic-era closures. The other one is there to help the students who are struggling with debt. But fundamentally, at its core, as you note, Stephanie, it is the government coming in to help relieve debt from someone who needs the debt relief. And I think structurally, that's the similarity, and that's why the White House is hitting back hard on these members.
They are hitting back hard. What do you think of this new strategy, AB? Because traditionally, Democrats are way more careful than that. They might say, well, there were Democratic lawmakers that also got PPP loans, but not here. They're punching between the eyes. We haven't seen that before.
No, and Stephanie, one of the criticisms of President Biden early on was that, Democrats didn't see him out there punching back. He came into office saying he was going to unite the nation and cool tempers, and he wanted to work with Republicans. And much of the grassroots energy, all the frustrations over the long, long road of Build Back Better, which finally became the Inflation Reduction Act, was born out of the fact that they felt that he was taking too much time negotiating with Republicans on other things, hoping for things like infrastructure and maybe other deals. That his career really was during an arc of a more civilized time. He was this genteel man of the Senate, and he really wasn't going to take on the fight of our time. And so it is an interesting turn. Everything happening at once, not only this slate of really, really productive and successful and meaningful new laws coming out of the Senate with the help of Republicans, passed signed into law by President Biden, as gas prices are going down, as former President Trump is back in the news, under yet another criminal investigation of a very serious nature. And then you have this new tactic, which is that they're going to fight back and punch Republicans back in the nose. It's really obviously being on defense. You're always losing when you're on defense, and the Democrats feel that all these things happening at once have given them, finally a position of offense. But it is definitely long sought by the base of the party and a welcome development.
Sam, what's your take on this new strategy?
Well, I think AB hits a number of valuable points here. I mean, the context is really what matters, right? If this was 2 or 3 months ago, pre the Roe v. Wade decision, I don't know if we'd have this type of strategy. If this was 2 or 3 months ago, prior to gas prices coming down, it might be difficult for them to execute a strategy like this. But you've had those two developments, which are incredible wind behind the sails of the Democratic Party. And then on top of that, you've had a few legislative successes that were elusive for a while, but now seem to be, well, they've been achieved, obviously, the Inflation Reduction Act and then the student loans relief. And so that gives the party the ability to stop playing defense, as AB says, and to go after the Republican critics more. And fundamentally, I mean, this is the only way they salvage this midterm elections. I mean, it's sort of a cliche at this point, but for the party in power in the midterms, you do everything you possibly can to create a contrast with the opposition party. You don't want it to necessarily be a referendum. In this case, they're not as discomfited by it being a referendum, and they get the ultimate gift in that they have Donald Trump out there with all his problems happening with the Mar-a-Lago search, with the possibility, the likelihood, the certainty, I should say, of the January 6th committee coming back. They get that contrast heading into November, and it creates this political stew that could potentially actually give the party a chance in the midterms when historically they should not have.
The gift of Trump coming to a midterm election near you. Sam Stein, AB Stoddard, thank you for joining us.